program that's in front of you or that is sold out there. We have the programs for $5. In the program, there are stories of all the inductees that Debbie and I had the honor of going to their home and interviewing them for the program stories. Guys, it was a pleasure. We really appreciate going to your home and visiting you and getting all the information that we have. It was fun listening to all of them. Anyway, our sponsors are Baker's Toll, Buzz's Muffler, Christie's Tasty Queen, Corvette Village, Hardcore Cafe, Hardcore Customs, Lakeside Speedway, Mars Tree Service, MC Promotions, that's Larry McCallan and Randy Combs, Ozark Barge and Dodge Service, Rick Darling Performance, Rodney Schweitzer Performance, Seaberg Muffler, and WWR. Please, everybody, support these people when you can, because without them, we can't do it, because they don't always support us with this, they support us with everything that we do, and we really appreciate it. So thank you, guys. We want to also welcome all of you for joining us here and on Facebook Live, brought to you by Racing Boys on Facebook. We want to say thank you for live streaming for us, Todd Surprise and Kirk Elliott for helping stream that. Okay, our presenters tonight are Roy Hibbard from 2016 and Dale McCarty from 2015. So if you two gentlemen would like to join me up here, one on one side and one on the other, and when our inductees come up, after they say their little story and Kirk interviews them, then that's when you will give them their plaque, okay? So you're going to sit up here during this, and then you can go back and eat with your families when you get done. Alrighty? Over here is Roy Hibbard, for those that don't know him, and over here is Mr. Dale McCarty. Okay, so at this time, I would like to introduce our MC for the night, Mr. Kirk Elliott.
Hey, Karen, before we get started, this is something we don't do every year, but we have the Pioneer class here in 2020, and we have 4 going in. And just to kind of remind people what the Pioneer class is and how that differs from the regular 8 that we induct every year.
Okay, our Pioneer class is the racers or promoters or drivers or whoever that helped get racing started before the Central Auto Racing Boosters got started in 1952. Okay, so everybody before 1952, these are our pioneers. These are the guys that got us to where we are today. And we appreciate CARB doing all that. We're supposed to do it every 5 years, but things happen and we didn't get it done the last 5 years. So we do have 4 this year, and next year, I don't know if Carl will do it that way or not, but we got to catch up. So, but what they are, like I said, what they are is people before 1952, before CARB was established. And that's what our pioneers are, that were involved in races, got us going, and got us to where we are here today. It's them that started the racing in this area and stuff, and we really appreciate what you guys did. So,
thank you very much, Karen. And we do have 4 of the pioneers that we are going to honor here to start off our program, and then we'll have our 8 members of the 2020 class of the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame that we are going to induct after that. So we'll do all 4 of the Pioneer members now, plus 2 of the regular Hall of Fame class, and then we'll do the final 6 after dinner tonight. So thanks for coming out, everybody. Does this feel like the first day of spring out here? Always Saturday, the first Saturday in March, which is traditionally the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I don't know about you, but I feel like spring has arrived every year that we gather here to induct the new members of the Hall of Fame. But first, we're going to start off with our Pioneer class tonight, and our first inductee is Buddy Cagle, and he was at the forefront of post-war midget racing, which was the most popular form of auto racing at the time. And Cagle's career took off in 1950, racing with Angelo Howerton at tracks that included Little Rock and Memphis, among other venues. Buddy earned his first ever feature win in 1950 at Memphis, winning a whopping $700, which was a lot of money in those days. $700 is like winning several $1,000s here today. In 1952, Cagle teamed up with owner Bill Mears, along with drivers Jimmy Reese and Judd Larson, in the Orchard Cleaner Specials. Unfortunately for Buddy, 1952 will be remembered for another reason besides running with these legendary stars. At DuQuoin, Cagle got a last-second ride in a famous midget once owned by the late Rex Mays. Cagle flipped the Offie-powered car end over end, hitting the guardrail, ripping Buddy from the car, still in the seat, mind you, landing in the infield lake, seat down. Now, fortunately, Buddy suffered minimal injuries in one of the most incredible accidents ever seen at the legendary DuQuoin Mile. And Buddy Cagle was able to live and tell that story. And back in those days, you know, racing was really dangerous. And, you know, testament to all the safety features that we see in racing today. Well, like many racers at that time, Buddy's career was interrupted by a stint in the armed services. After his return in 1955, he started driving midgets for John Zink, who was the winning owner of back-to-back Indy 500 wins in 1955 and 1956. 55 with Bob Swikert and 56 with Pat Flaherty. That's who John Zink was. He was like the Roger Penske of today. And Cagle also tried racing in the championship car division for owners that included Lee Elkins and Pete Salimi. Cagle raced on the dirt mile at DuQuoin once again and the old Phoenix Fairgrounds. A wreck at Toledo in a AAA midget race, however, left Buddy with a broken arm. The goal for many drivers is to race the Indy 500, and Cagle had a crack at that in 1956, racing for Salimi once again in the Central Excavating Special. Buddy, however, crashed in practice, and that dream would never be accomplished. In the midget ranks, though, Cagle was always one of the top competitors. In the 1950s, Buddy won races across the nation, including wins at California, at Gardena, and at also San Diego in URA competition. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome our first pioneer of the 2020 class, Buddy Cagle. And I'm not sure if can we bring Buddy up, or would it be better to come over to where he's sitting at?
We can try.
Okay. If he can. We're so happy that Buddy is here tonight. Pioneer, our first one going in here tonight, and man, what a ride! What a life in racing Buddy has had. Of course, we told you about the midgets being the most popular form of racing back then. I mean, midget racing was everything back in post-war America, and Buddy was right at the forefront of it. And we're so happy that he's here tonight to accept this honor for being in the Pioneer class here at the Hall of Fame tonight. So. Buddy, congratulations to you. What's this mean for you to be a pioneer? And what do you remember about post-war racing?
Well, one thing that it means is to get a son that's old enough, that's big enough, that can do this lugging around me. He's just a little bit larger than what I am.
Well, you were a giant. There's no doubt about that.
Crowd, my land, I just can't believe it. It's just unreal. Well, everything else is on down, down, down. We're going
Congratulations to you, buddy. Who you got with you here?
Of all he's ever done. And I wish we could go had a little more time to tell any of the stories that he told you, or told me when we were kids, but because they are great stories, and like I say, racing back then, those guys, they were all daredevils back then.
But he was right at the forefront of, midget racing was big time back when he was running.
Right after the war in '45, he started doing hot laps in the cars to test them, and then at 16, he started driving them. So, and he lied about his age to do it.
Well, let's give him the honor right now. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Man, that's awesome. We're so happy he's here tonight. Buddy Cagle, ladies and gentlemen. Our second pioneer, Charles C.H. Hines. He grew up between Marshall and Slater, Missouri. Charles L. Hines, also known as Charlie and C.H., found mechanical things intriguing at an early age, which limited formal education that he had. Much of his knowledge was acquired through hands-on experience in studying how others performed their trade. In 1952, Charles and Harvey Morrow established a deal to build a 37 Ford race car with Harvey to handle driving duties. The Central Missouri Racing Association, the CMRA, had just been established, and they were ready to go racing. Charles and Harvey campaigned on the local racing circuits, including Marshall, Moberly, Sweet Springs, Jefferson City, and Sedalia. Charles occasionally got behind the wheel. Charles built a 32 Ford Coupe with a first Ford Flathead V8 and later a V8 Nailhead Buick. Charles would campaign the CMRA circuit with drivers such as Harvey Morrow, Roy Hibbard, Harold Cromley, David Golden, Walter Sorrells, Tom Michaels, and Ken Taylor. And many wins would come in the number 71 car. Charles chose the number 71, which would remain throughout his career. His car was considered to be one of the more desirable rides in the CMRA and was very well to adapting to get most out of the V8 Buick engines. Hines teamed up with Marvin Gibson in 1966, and Knoxville became a regular stopping ground, and a top 10 finish at the 1967 Knoxville Nationals was a highlight. Charles teamed up with his son, grandson, nephew, and many friends and sponsors to campaign a 360 sprint car in the early 1990s. He prepared the motors for the effort, resulting in a podium finish at the Missouri State Fair Championship in 1993 behind well-known veteran sprint car drivers Danny Smith and Todd Bishop. In 1996, the effort would capture the State Fair Speedway Season Points Championship. CH passed away this past October, and we're honored that his son Chuck is here on behalf of his father to accept this honor of being a pioneer into the Central Auto Racing Boosters. Ladies and gentlemen, C.H. Hines and Chuck Hines coming up to accept on his behalf. Chuck, this is a really big honor here tonight. What's it mean for your family?
Oh, it means a lot, and this time we'd certainly like to thank the Carb Hall of Fame organization for honoring Dad with this award. We lost him in October, and we're sad and sorry that he can't be here tonight, but he's here with us in spirit.
What's the biggest thing that he considered the highlight of his whole career? Would it be the finish in the top 10 at the '67 Knoxville Nationals?
Yeah, that was certainly a highlight. And then the year before, they went to Knoxville. There's kind of a little story behind that with him and Marvin. Marvin just started driving the car, and Marvin campaigned to go up there and run the Nationals. And Dad didn't think they were quite ready to go, but Marvin relented, and they ended up going up there. And when they got up there, Dad asked Marvin some questions about it. And Marvin said, well, because Dad had asked him previously if he'd been up there. He said, well, the night I was up here, it rained them out. So they were off to a rough start that night. But as they ended up, it was a rain out at that Saturday night, and they came back Sunday, and they ended up winning the B feature at the Knoxville Nationals that year. And at that point in time, he didn't transfer to the A main. So that was a highlight for him as well.
What was the biggest thing that he saw as far as there was a lot of innovations back in those days? I mean, everybody come up with a lot of different stuff back then. What was the biggest thing he was so proud of?
Well, he always constructed his own cars. I mean, he was a hands-on. He did all the work on them. He built several of his cars from the ground up. He built the motors for them. I mean, he was a hands-on guy that did a lot of the work. Yep.
And I'm sure there was a lot of people that made it possible. What else do you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to add that, this pioneer kind of seems fitting. And when you think about the definition of pioneer, the first one there to kind of settle a region or settle an area. Dad was there kind of at the start of the CMRA. And, the CMRA was known as a well-organized racing association. And, he was there from the beginning. And, pioneer just seems like a good thing. And the only other thing I'd like to add, I'd like to congratulate all the other past inductees and the current inductees as well. Thanks everyone for coming.
And congratulations to you. Ladies and gentlemen, C.H. Hines, the Pioneer, will present the award to Chuck here on his behalf. You stand right over there. And as we talked about earlier, Roy was a big part of C.H. Hines, right, Roy? Here, I'm going to have you, what's the best C.H. Hines story you can tell?
Well, I was telling Chuck that I drove C.H. Hines' car one night, and Marshall, mine broke down, and he had me drive it, and I won the feature. And I've got that picture in my scrapbook. I didn't know whether he had that picture or not. I told him I'd have a copy made for him if he wanted to. He said he thought he had that picture, though, already.
How about that? So, what was the highlight when you were driving?
Well, C.H. was, I think, 2 years older than me. I had a brother that was 2 years older than me that they ran around together quite a bit. And I knew him from the races, and I went out and visited him at where he was before he passed away. I didn't know he was near that sick, but I guess he was. I'm glad I saw him a few times before he passed away anyway.
Well, that's fitting that we honor him here tonight. Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Roy Hibbard. And that's the Dale McCurdy's here tonight for also present. Dale went into another Hall of Fame here a couple of weeks ago with Karen Darling over in Boonville here a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations to these two. They went in with Ray Lee Goodwin, and we appreciate that. Dale McCarty and Roy Hibbard are presenters here tonight. Jewel W. Kidwell is our next pioneer that we're going to honor here tonight. A product of Boonville and Central Missouri, Jewel, or JW as his friends call him, becomes our third Carb Pioneer honoree for 2020. Jewel saw an ad in the local paper about a jalopy car race at Syracuse, Missouri. So he attended that event, and he left impressed enough that he returned and drove in the July 4th, 1950 jalopy race there. And over the next 3 years, Jewel would race the old cars while fields were made up usually of 32 to 38 Fords. He would race at the Missouri tracks such as Syracuse, the figure 8 track at Sedalia, Versailles, which was a track on a baseball field, Sweet Springs, both 3/8 and quarter-mile racetracks there, as well as Riverside Stadium. In 1952, the Central Missouri Racing Association, the CMRA, was formed, and Jewel was one of the founding members. He started as vice president, and in 1954 became secretary-treasurer, a position he would hold until the CMRA ended in 1972. Jewel began scoring CMRA races in 1952, and he also did flagging duties over the years. At one point, the CMRA would race 5 nights a week. Tracks that he worked were located in Marshall, Sedalia, Jefferson City, Warrensburg, Sweet Springs, Mobile 8, and Clinton. As a race official in charge of events up to 5 nights a week, he spread out all over central Missouri and really kept himself busy doing a lot of work at the racetracks, and the travel would prove to be a challenge and demanding responsibility, but Jewel was up to it. He would work for 30 years for such racing organizations as the CMRA, the National Speedways Incorporated, which is known as the NSI, IMCA, AAA, Hassler & Son, and NASCAR. He would serve as scoring official, flagman, and other duties at more than 19 tracks in Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, and Illinois. And tonight, he's the Central Auto Racing Boosters pioneer. Would you make welcome to the stage, Jewel Kidwell.
Hello there.
Hi, Jewel. How you doing?
I'm alive.
I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. Hold it up. Okay. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming here. I want to thank the Central Car Racing Boosters, members and officers. And I especially want to thank Rick and Karen and Mike Kraft for helping me along with this and spending some time with me. It's been a long, long road, but I appreciated every minute of it. And I made lots of friends. A lot of them are inducted in this Hall of Fame tonight. I saw most of them drive their first race. But also I want to mention the Charlie Hines family. Charlie was a great man, a good father, a good car builder, and he also served on the CMRA Board of Directors. And so we will miss him here tonight, but he's probably looking down at us. So anyway, thanks for all these years. My friends and my relatives over here, my little wife Margaret, my sons, grandsons, grandchildren, there's a lot of them here tonight. They always say, once I start talking about racing, I don't know when to quit. I'm gonna give you guys a break. But anyway, I could talk a lot, but anyway, let me tell you this. 34 years I spent in the racing business was the best years of my life. And all the drivers, the owners, a lot of them are in the CMRA. I miss it, but I'm thankful for it. Thank you very much.
Highlight at any racetrack over all those many years that stands out over the others. Turn around and we'll see if you can. I want to know what the biggest memory out of all those years are.
You want to start at number 50 and work back? I'm going to tell you, I had a short racing career. You know, we started out in old Jalopy, Syracuse, Missouri, July the 4th, 1950. And we worked up to street stocks. We had the coupes, we had the modifieds, we had the super modifieds, and then we had the sprint cars. So my biggest thrill about all this, if it's a thrill, is helping. I had a lot of help. But we made that association, or CMRA, about one of the best in the country. And Roy Hibbert, his brother, Boris Charles, Ken Taylor, they helped do that. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Jewel. We appreciate you in position of the award right now. Jewel, ladies and gentlemen,
Are we done?
Jewel Kidwell, ladies and gentlemen. The final pioneer to be honored tonight came from humble beginnings. Clifford Ray Lilly. Cliff's father, Roy Lilly, served as a second lieutenant engineer under General Pershing in World War I, suffering from severe lung damage from mustard gas exposure from the German army. He passed away when Clifford was only 6 years old. His mother felt bad for Clifford and the next year took him to the racetrack at La Plata, Missouri to see the jalopy races. At only 7 years old, the races made a big impact on him with racing, and he knew what he wanted to do after that. In 1950, at Manhattan Speedway in Manhattan, Kansas, Cliff would begin his driving career at the age of 20. An owner was looking for a driver after his driver died at a racing event a couple of weeks prior. Cliff would struggle with the handling of the car, but adjustments were made and his driving improved. The first race car he owned was a 1936 Ford Coupe with a Ford flathead engine and car number 1. He would race that car in 1951 at Flying Saucer Speedway in Platte City, Missouri. It had a fabric roof on the car, and when he rolled the car, his seatbelt broke. As the car rolled toward and onward, Cliff was left lying on the ground, but uninjured. Local racing was the norm from 1951 until 1965 at the Olympic Stadium, Riverside Stadium, the original Lakeside Speedway, and Excelsior Springs Speedway, Flying Saucer Speedway, and Manhattan Speedway. In 1952, he would build at home the first of several 1932 Ford Coupes with Ford flathead engines. His number at that point became number 17. The color scheme would be established as blue and white. In 1970, Cliff set off for a new sprint car chassis from A.J. Watson, the plans for the chassis from A.J. Watson. And that Watson chassis was a smaller version based on the popular winning Indy 500 chassis. Cliff would build these cars. He built 3 of them. The number 61 for Kenny Fireball Baker, the number 16 for Larry Moss, and driven by Woody Woodward, and his own number 17, also called the Hooker. Cliff, now 90 years old, is still going strong. He and his wife are watching in. They're looking in on our Facebook Live tonight from their home down in Gassville, Arkansas. And here to represent Clifford in accepting this award tonight is his son, Roy Lilly. Ladies and gentlemen, our pioneer into the Hall of Fame tonight, we honor Clifford Ray Lilly and his son Roy here tonight. I know your folks are watching here tonight down there in Gassville, Arkansas.
Right, watching on a laptop.
What would he be saying right now if he were standing with us here tonight?
Well, he'd be thinking of a lot of people. And I knew most of them, but the list is, like I was telling my craft, that, it's a lifetime of people and names, and, But he would be standing there thinking, he'd be very proud of this.
And he was around racing a long time. Did he ever talk about certain things that stood out in his mind of experiences along the way?
Absolutely. He raced for 28 years. And when he joined IMCA, they traveled all over to all the state fair races. And he had a lot of stories from all those races, but some things stood out more than others. I think the first wreck that he had was in Spencer, Iowa. And that changed a lot of things for him. And he ended up building a new car. And we had this conversation somewhere around 1974, 75. And he was a Ford person. He raced Fords. All those years he was racing Fords, and he decided to switch. So in IMCA, he always ran around 40th position in the points by the end of the year. So he switched to Chevrolet those last 3 years, and he jumped up into the top 10. And he, I asked him a couple of years ago, I was just curious, why did you stop racing? He said, well, Chevrolets weren't near as fun as the Fords. Even though he was,
Back then, that was shocking that he switched from Ford to Chevy. I mean, he was always a Ford guy. I mean, just how big a deal was that when he decided to go to Chevy?
Well, it was a big deal. He signed a deal with Don Man, Speed Specialties, and we had these 3 engines. And all of our knowledge was Ford. So when he jumped up there, he said, I can't believe the horsepower that I was missing.
But he regretted going to Chevy, right?
Yeah, I mean, his whole way of thinking about the chassis is, he got this from A.J. Watson, was that all the engines were the same. You beat them with the chassis. And so we put a lot of effort in that, and he did. And so that last car he had, which was a Fred Kane chassis, the bigger the track, the more that car would run smooth in the turns. And, so he was all about the chassis. So the switch going from Ford to Chevrolet, and him being such a diehard Ford fan, it just took it all out of him. And so he was done with it.
He was right there when Super Modifieds transitioned to what we know now known as sprint cars, but he saw that transition, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was actually involved in probably about 3 transitions, from jalopies to modified, super modifieds, and then again from that into sprint car racing across the United States. So in some ways, he wasn't innovative, but a lot of times he had a car that was probably the first of its kind. We built a lot of cars together for several years. So.
All right, let's talk about the people who are with you here tonight.
Well, only one person is with me tonight, and that's my son, Travis. And it's his grandson. And he has his own kind of racing career, drag races. And he's known for running in Hot Rod Magazine's Drag Week. And they won it like 4 out of 6 years straight. And, so that's about it for the rest of our family. I don't think anybody else is involved that I know of. Well, okay, I was.
Any final thoughts here tonight? It's quite an honor.
It is an honor, and Mike and I talked, Mike Kraft and I talked, that we're pretty sure this is the only club like it in the United States. And it's great to be here.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Here we got a presentation here from Roy Hibbert. All right, here, wait a second. We're having a conversation here, Roy. What did you just say?
I just told him in the 50s was the best time to start racing. A guy without any money, how would you start racing now? There wasn't 5 or 6 good drivers in Missouri, and if you was a pretty good driver, you could take $800 or $900 and build a car and outrun most of them. But now, you got to be a good speaker. That's more important. I never was a good speaker.
Oh, yes, you are.
But now I know it takes thousands or millions of dollars to take a car and get to the top in any organization now. And it's more important to be a good speaker than a good driver. Back then, if you was a good driver and break up a little money, you could go to the top. But years he started in the 50s, I started in the 50s also, and it was the best time. I would have never, if I'd have waited till now to start racing, there's no way I could ever made it now.
But there's no doubt, I mean, Cliff Lilly was a true pioneer because of all the innovations that went on back.
That's right. Chris Economy, I used to eat the editor of Speedport News. I've taken that ever since the 50s. And he said back in the 50s, there wasn't hardly any adjustment on the cars. The driver had to adjust. And I know what he was talking about. You had to deal with what you had, and there wasn't much adjustment on anything.
All right.
It's more fun then, too, than it is now, I'd say.
And a lot cheaper, too.
Oh, yeah.
Cliff Lilly, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Roy. Congratulations to all of our pioneers. How about a collective round of applause? Now we're into the 2020 class of the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame. We've got 8 inductees that we're going to honor here tonight. And the first one is Randy Sears. Randy was a longtime fan before he was a race driver. After seeing his first race in 1962, he eventually knew he needed a greater involvement, and there was Bobby and John Lane right there to help out. Randy was asked to help out on the Lane Brothers pit crew. He found his way into the driver's seat after Tom Corbin built his first sprint car. Fast Money, as he was known, raced sprint cars from 1978 to 1984, and while he was successful racing, he was never a points racer. His main priority was to have fun. Randy was always well liked by his fellow drivers and had many fans. He would race at a total of 28 racetracks in 10 states. All these were dirt tracks, which included Riverside Stadium, the original Lakeside Speedway on Leavenworth Road, Mid-America Fairgrounds in Topeka, Saline County Speedway in Marshall, Missouri State Fairgrounds, both the half and mile racetracks in Sedalia, Tri-City Speedway in Granite City, Knoxville, Tulsa Speedway, which is the fairgrounds down there, and I-30 Speedway in Little Rock. Racing organizations he competed in included the National Sprint Car Association, which is known as the MSCA, Missouri Sprint Car Association, the MSCA, World of Outlaws, USAC, and Mid-America Racing Club, MARC, as they call it. Randy had a number of achievements driving sprint cars, but a favorite memory of his was his first 8-feature win in 1978 at Saline County Speedway. Other achievements and awards include Lakeside Speedway's 1978 Sprint Car Rookie of the Year Award and 1980 Most Improved Driver for Sprint Cars at Lakeside. From 1980 to 84, he consistently finished in the top 10 in points in the MSCA. Ladies and gentlemen, would you make welcome your first member into the 2020 Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame class, Randy Sears. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Man,
I want equal time to Jewel.
and first of all, you mentioned something we had you on the radio this morning on Sports Radio 810, and one of the big things you talked about, having fun, and you certainly had fun.
Yes, we had a lot of fun racing. You know, Dude Lasowski and I started driving about the same time. George probably still has a headache from those days, trying to keep us headed the right direction. I think Dude would agree that we had a lot of fun, but boy, when we buckled in the race car, it was a whole different story. It all got serious. He or I, either one, would drive over our grandmothers to beat the other one. And we really had pretty nice grandmothers, quite frankly. So we had fun, we did a lot of traveling, you know, it's memories that I'll take to my grave. All good ones, all good ones. So great times, and this family of racing people is unbelievable. I still have people come up to me across the country that I have no idea who they are, and they tell me they saw me race somewhere, and they remembered some experience something I did that night. I have no idea what they're talking about, but they remember. And that's part of the racing family, and it's huge, and it's really unbelievable, and it's really, my wife Judy and I's, that is our family, so very important to us, and you're all a part of that family.
And Judy is watching in tonight.
Yes, she is. She's in Mesa. We met her in Mesa, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix.
Hi, Judy.
Hello, Judy. You're watching.
We have a 12-year-old Siberian Husky that's traveled all of her years with us, and we didn't have the heart to put her in the kennel. Judy knew, thank goodness for the racing boys, that they broadcast this. So I'm sure she's sitting out on the patio in Mesa, Arizona this afternoon. It was supposed to be about 86 degrees. They're watching the television on the side of the motor coach, and several people in the park are joining her. So I say hello to all of them while I have this opportunity.
You're living the dream right now in that RV.
You know, we neither one apologize for the fact that we spent 50 years working for the opportunity to live this dream. So many people have the dream, and they don't get to do it because of one factor or another, health or whatever. I can tell you for fact, I'm living the dream, and it's great. We enjoy every minute of it. I've been retired for 2 years, Judy and I, and we've been all over the country. I think we were home about 60 days total last year, and it's going to be about the same way this year. So it's a great way to live your senior years, so to speak.
You know, I've been around this game I started going to races back in the 60s. I'd never met a banker that was also a racer until I met you.
Well, I was kind of unique. I know of only one other banker in the country that drove sprint cars, and he raced for a short period of time up at Knoxville. It was kind of like I was accused of having a split personality. I'd wear a suit and tie and a white shirt and loan millions of dollars every day at the bank. And then I'd leave the bank that afternoon, and I'd either fly or get in the tow rig, and we'd go to the racetrack, and then Sunday evening, or sometimes really early on Monday morning, we'd come back home, spending the weekend racing, and we'd have people, I'd have my customers at the racetrack come down in the pit area after the races, and they would walk right by me and didn't even recognize me, totally outside of my professional environment at that point, and standing there in a fire suit, they just couldn't comprehend. So yeah, I think I probably was somewhat of a unique individual. So, but you know, it was a neat way to do it. So.
One or two of the biggest racing highlights that you can recall right off the top of your head?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I could stand up here for the next hour and a half and tell you racing stories. There's a couple of 3 memories that I have. Some of them probably weren't so good. There was the night we were hot lapping. It was an NSCA show at Riverside Stadium. It was a 3-day racing event here in Kansas City. Dave Van Patten and Lottie bought the NSCA here. They ran Lakeside on Friday night, the old Lakeside. Went to Riverside on Saturday night, and then we went to Marshall, Missouri on Sunday night. Well, I'd done pretty good on Friday night at Lakeside, and the car was really working good. We went to Riverside on Saturday night. We got ready to hot lap, and I was feeling pretty sporty. And Pat McKeon was also feeling pretty sporty, and we both went down in the number one turn. And unfortunately, I ran over his right front wheel, and end over end and upside down, and I landed in about 15 foot up in the top of a tree over around the Riverside Red X parking lot. So that was an event. There was the brawl we had at Farmington, Missouri. Dude was down there with us. He probably instigated it. They had a couple of really local racers down there who were very successful, Ronnie Milton and Tubby Black. And I talked to Bob Toman. Dude and I were starting to do pretty fair in the Kansas City area, so we wanted to travel. So I said, Bob, you think we do pretty good down there at Farmington? Because he was running down there all the time. I said, yeah, I think you ought to be okay. So anyway, we go down there, we win our heat race. And Curtis Evans was with us, and Dude started driving the next year, so he was turning wrenches for Curtis. And we went out, and Curtis won his heat race, and I won my heat race. And we'd never seen the track before. So we were feeling pretty good about it. So they came and they told us, you'll be on the trophy dash, in the trophy dash. And you all will start behind Tubby Black and Ronnie Milton. So we go down in the first turn at the start of the trophy dash, and Milton and Tubby go out of my sight. Well, I just crossed over. I started outside the second row, crossed over and dove underneath them, and I was leading going down the back straightaway. So I'm going to have a clean sweep tonight. I'm going to get this dash and then the feature. So anyway, as it was, the red came on. So, I stopped on the back straightaway, and so anyway, I didn't know what was going on. They went ahead and pushed us off. We restarted the race, and I won the dash. So I'm standing on the front straightaway, and I'm getting my trophy, and I hear somebody go, Randy, Randy, Randy. I looked up, and my wife's running down the front straightaway out of the pit area. She says, comes up, running up to me, and she says, there's a brawl back there in the pits. You can't believe it. Well, unbeknownst to me, Curtis Evans had gotten into Ronnie Milton and turned him upside down there in the first turn. That was why they hit the red. So Milton was down there fighting with Dude and my crew and their crew. And so I had them fire me up, and I went down. There's probably 500 people. They were pouring out of the pit area and coming out of the stands to watch this fight. Well, anyway, we got an escort from the State Highway Patrol all the way back to Marshall Junction because Milton threatened to kill us on the highway that night. Highway Patrol and the promoter said, he's pretty serious. I think I need to take you. So we had Highway Patrol protection all the way back. It must have been a slow Saturday night. So anyway, that's a couple of good stories. So. But that was fun, right? Oh yeah. I mean, it was great experiences. So had a lot of fun.
Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Randy Sears. Congratulations, Randy Sears again, ladies and gentlemen. Lowell and Marla Christie. After we inducted Darren into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, and Larry last year, it's time to honor Lowell and Marla Christie as the newest members into the Carb Hall of Fame. Lowell and Marla have been great supporters of the local racing scene for decades, and both have contributed in so many ways. To this day, Lowell and Marla continue to field mobile race cars while doing whatever they can to help wherever they can and promote racing in Kansas City. Lowell began racing way back in 1961 with a soapbox derby car at the Missouri State Fairgrounds in Sedalia, and then started racing a dirt car 2 years later, but then quit in 1965. So Lowell and Marla could prepare for the arrival of Bear, who I'm sure, knowing Bear, would say, why would you do that? Why would you quit racing because of me? You know, I think Bear would say that. But anyway, they, after Bear arrived, they would likely quit, but as we all know, they came back. The entire family was involved after that. In 1983, Christie's Tasty Queen opened, and Bear was behind the wheel of an IMCA modified at Riverside Stadium. Darren's brother Scott also raced for a few years, and right now the Christie's field of 5 cars, including 4 pure stocks, and an E-Mod, with Darren, Jason Ryan, Don Mars, Don Johnson, and Tim Billings all behind the wheel. Lowell and Marla have won numerous carb awards over the years, including the Tom Carrick Family Award, Marla winning the J.O. Pop Hartman Award, and Lowell the Distinguished Service Award and Virginia Nelson Award, among others. The Christie's catered the Hall of Fame banquet for many years and have provided food at various other functions as well. Their tenderloins are world famous. They're the best, are they not? And tonight, Lowell and Marla Christie are here tonight as Hall of Famers in the Central Auto Racing Boosters 2020 class. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Lowell and Marla Christie. Marla, man, this is fun. We'll get to Lowell here in just a little bit. I want to talk to Marla first. Boy, this is quite an honor. I know you do a lot of things for racing in Kansas City. You never expect anything in return, but you're always there. Whatever is needed, you've always been there.
Well, we try. We enjoy every bit of it. And whatever we're asked to do, that's what we'll do. Because it's an honor to be chosen for this, and we're in with so many legends, and it's just wonderful.
It's been, a passion for racing has been woven through your entire family.
Oh yeah. That's all we've known, really. Of course, I told the story of when Flo and I got together. I wanted to date. I had to go to the shop and sit in the shop, and that was our dates. On our rehearsal night, we went to the races. Day after our wedding, we went to Marshall's races. So anyway, and then after Darren Scott started racing, and it was family, and that's what all these people are, is our family, and we just enjoy it all.
But it goes beyond that, because all your friends are part of the family, aren't they?
Oh yeah. We've got so many friends, and we appreciate every one of them.
I don't think a lot of people realize outside of racing just how tight-knit the racing community is, and anybody's in any kind of need, racing people are there.
That's right, they sure are. And everybody's out to help everybody, so.
The biggest, the Central Auto Racing Boosters organization, you folks have been involved in that for many, many years, how important that is. We've got a NASCAR track in town. I contend that there would never be a NASCAR track in town without the organization and the promotion of racing here in this city.
Right, I agree. Sure. Yes.
Well, what's it mean to you coming into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, this is great.
I'm going to get to the other side of you here so everybody can turn around.
You know, with so many good people here, and we thoroughly enjoy it. We thank them. Carb does so much. Nobody knows how much work goes on here to have this. I mean, people have been here since 8:30 this morning. You got to hand it to them.
Let's talk about the first Hall of Fame awards banquet. This is the 17th year of the Carb Hall of Fame, but I remember the first one, 2004. It was a potluck. It was the Carb potluck back then.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Someone was talking about that. I remember all in the Gladstone that we catered, and that was quite a few. I don't remember the potluck. Do you? You're not that old?
I'm the old man. No, it's as far as contributing to the organization. I know there is one big thing that you've raised a lot of money for. Tell us about it.
That would have been the car we built? Yeah, we did. We built that in my shop, took it everywhere. I raised about $10,000 and gave it away.
How about that? $10,000. That was, you really felt good about doing that.
Oh, yeah, we sure did.
Now, you're still involved out there. You still got a lot of race cars you go out there and work on, don't you?
I got 5 of them, yeah. 5 of them. I got 3 vintage, too, cars. We got a fleet.
Yeah. Why have that many race cars?
I don't know. That is a good question. Nobody in their right mind should have 5 race cars. Well, I couldn't without this girl. That's the one we have to thank right there.
Now, you're coming into the Hall of Fame now, but, you know, Barry's already in the Hall of Fame. Larry's in the Hall of Fame right now, so you had to be proud of that when Barry went in a couple of years ago.
You know what I really enjoyed is watching the things you've done, Mike done with different people. So interesting. Jerry Stone, I mean, it's on and on. Great.
Finally, speaking of Bear, how about that wedding down there with the golden jewelry?
We didn't know about that. He's a big boy, he didn't have to ask.
You know, when we were inside the building, none of us knew what was going on until later when it was posted on Facebook.
This first year, I hadn't been to Chili Bowl. I've been to all of them but 1. Or 2 now. Quite interesting.
Well, that's congratulations to them. Any final thoughts about what it means to go into the Car Hall of Fame?
It's just really nice, you know, really nice. And all my family's here today. And
tell us who's all here tonight.
Well, Scott, Kelly, my daughter, and Stu, son-in-law. And there's a couple more, my grandson and Jamie.
All right, Marla, did we miss anything?
Nope, I think that was it. Our granddaughter is sick, so she needs to come, so.
Any final thoughts about what it means to go into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, my gosh, this is such an honor. Brenda Johnson nominated us, and we knew nothing about it until Karen called us at night, and I was kind of, oh, well, yeah, well, that's not, what? I couldn't believe it when I just thank everybody that voted for us, and it's just such an honor to be in with all these legends, and we enjoyed it.
Congratulations to both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Lowell and Marla Christie.
Look, this way.
I can tell because my other pictures.
Congratulations again, Lowell and Marla Christie. 6 minutes to go, and I think we went for dinner right now, right?
Okay, guys, at this time, we're getting ready to dinner. We got 5 minutes, so I'm going to tell you a little about how all these inductees got chosen. The selection committee is the Car Hall of Fame board and officers, and then all the living inductees get to vote, plus 7 to 9 from the general membership. So this year we sent out 72 ballots, and we got back 70 of them. So, and this is the group that we are honoring here tonight. This is who the top 8 was, and then our pioneers was chosen by the board by the history. So, guys, nominations. Nominate. You need to nominate. If you think someone needs to be in the Hall of Fame, you need to nominate. We have forms that are on the line, or you can talk to any of the board members here to get a form. Okay? Bob Baker, where are you? Bob's going to say a few words and then he's going to lead us into prayer, and then I'm going to announce who the people are that are going to eat first.
It's great to be back here. I want to congratulate all the new inductees and all the inductees that are with us tonight. You wouldn't bow your head. My brother told me one thing, keep it short, so that's what I'm going to do. Let's have a safe race season this year, and bless us, O Lord, in these thy gifts, which we're about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. All right, Karen. I don't think she was ready for it to be that short. Karen has disappeared from the stage. There she comes.